So we will start with that sickening attack on a trans woman at a Minneapolis light rail station. We know through criminal charges tonight that she was brutally beaten by 3 men. How badly? She has a broken rib, her lung collapsed, and internal brain bleeding. 2 of the men are in jail for this attack, and a 3rd is still missing. And while attacks at this exact train station have happened before, and all of them are unacceptable, there's an important reason we're talking about this specific one tonight. Police who went to this scene said in court documents they were concerned this woman was beaten because she is trans, attacked for who she is. But if you just read the charges in this case, you wouldn't see the words hate crime or anti-trans bias mentioned, and that might sound confusing. So Kent is here to walk us through why that is.
Well, Jana, the simple answer is Minnesota doesn't have a hate crime law, but prosecutors can pursue harsher sentences for crimes motivated by bias against a victim's race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. So in this case, we know that 2 men, 23-year-old Kevin York Jr. of St. Paul and 19-year-old Keaton Morris of Minneapolis, each face charges of aggravated and 3rd-degree assault. Those are serious felonies, and the Hennepin County prosecutor says there is still time to figure out the motivation behind them.
On Monday morning, just inside this street-level entrance of the Lake Street light rail station in Minneapolis, Metro Transit police responded to a transgender woman suffering from critical injuries, including a brain bleed. According to criminal complaints, surveillance cameras showed 3 suspects beating her near the north tower of the station, pushing her down the stairs, and then continuing the assault on the ground level. Though 2 of the men have already been arrested and charged with felony assault, a motive remains unclear, along with an explanation of why, quote, officers had concerns that the assault was due to anti-transgender bias.
This case is still being investigated. We are trying to get additional information from the police officers.
Hennepin County Prosecutor Mary Moriarty says what they and witnesses say will help determine what happens next.
If there are facts that support that this was a crime motivated by bias, then we do have the opportunity to charge it with an increased sentence.
Regardless of what the exact motivations are, certainly that vulnerability is going to be the same for our community.
Kat Rohn, executive director of Outfront Minnesota, says that vulnerability, just like the organization's secure office space, has existed for years. The last national transgender survey, all the way back in 2015, found that in just a year's time, 46% of respondents were verbally harassed and 9% were physically attacked because of being transgender.
That's a staggering number, and this incident is certainly one prominent example, but certainly we had the attack on Club Q and events that have happened here within our own communities that just heighten that awareness and feeling of concern for our safety and concern for what it means to be out in public.
And that's the thing. Kat says that sense of vulnerability and actual violence seem to only be growing in the years since that survey.
As other states pass legislation that's directly affecting and targeting members of our community and our critical care, it creates a culture where acts of violence become more charged and where folks feel emboldened to commit acts of violence in a different way.
Kat says Minnesota and the Twin Cities have offered refuge for many transgender and other LGBT community members targeted by that legislation in neighboring states, which is another reason why this attack in this place is especially hard.
Even here within the Twin Cities, even within spaces that we might think of as being safer for LGBTQ individuals, that bias still shows up, those safety concerns still show up, and the systemic disparities still show up in our lives every day. And so until we address those deeper levels, we'll continue to see acts of violence like this, and our community will continue to remain vulnerable.
Now, getting back to that attack at the light rail station, it's important to remember that right now police, again, are still looking for that 3rd suspect. And the investigation into the motive is complicated by that and the fact that we still know very little about how the victim is doing. According to court documents, she was in critical status when she got into the hospital and unable to even sign a medical release form. Police said the only thing she did manage to say was, "They hit me." Jana.
Thanks, Kent. I think a lot of people have been curious about her condition, and to just push the veil back here, we don't know who she is either, so we can't get more information. And charges against someone kind of let people know what happens. It's not like they tell us who she is.
Yeah, because of the sensitivity here, because of the worry about that bias, there are just initials here. We only know the initials of the victim for many of those reasons. And so it is that much harder to get the information in terms of status in the hospital and all of those things as this investigation plays out, Jana.
All right. Thanks so much, Kent. We